The chamber walls glowed a deep crimson, the color of caution among the Dominion's ruling elite. But High Lord Karvek Torian wasn't a man who feared colors. He barely spared the prophet a glance. "Let the record show," Torian said, voice sharp as obsidian, "the council has received the Seer's warning. And we choose to ignore it." HFY, frail and trembling, stepped forward. His 4 hands trembled beneath the folds of his ceremonial robe. "You mistake this as superstition. But what I've seen is no myth. The Terrans, humans, are different. If you strike first, they will never stop. You will awaken something ancient inside them." Karvek laughed, the sound echoing through the vaulted ceiling like a blade dragged across marble. "We've crushed 50 worlds," he said, "and none of them had your precious spark. They burn, they cry, and then they obey. Earth will be no different." But Earth was already different. And by the time the council realized it, their skies would be ash. 2 sectors away, Syrix 7 rotated quietly in the emptiness. A Terran research outpost, non-military, civilian, studied subquantum gravity anomalies from the safety of its orbiting lab. At 316 Galactic Standard, everything changed. Without a declaration, without warning, without provocation, Council Fire Group Delta uncloaked above the station and unleashed a barrage of ion torpedoes. Shields collapsed. Emergency transmissions fizzled out mid-plea. In 17 seconds, Syrix 7 ceased to exist. A black bloom of frozen gas and corpses drifted silently in space. Then, stillness. On Earth, Commander Elias Rain stood alone in the dim war observatory. Screens lined the walls, streams of raw satellite data pulsing in real time. The footage played on loop, the destruction of Syrix 7, the screams, the abrupt silence. A junior analyst behind him swallowed hard. We weren't even armed, sir." "I know," Elias said. "The room was cold, but not from the air. They didn't even issue a demand. No message. Just, struck," the analyst muttered. Elias turned, eyes sharp, expression unreadable. "Because they think we won't respond." "And will we, Commander?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward, keyed in a clearance code known only to 5 people on Earth, and brought up a screen that hadn't been touched in nearly 2 centuries. "Protocol Ember, initiated." Below the prompt, "Unleash only if survival demands total deterrence." The analyst's voice cracked. "You're activating Ember?" "We're done waiting for permission," Elias said. "They struck first." He paused, then whispered, more to himself than anyone, "So now, we don't stop." At the Dominion Central Relay, Torian reclined in his hover chair, sipping glow wine and watching the Syrix footage replay with smug satisfaction. Around him, diplomats applauded the precision. "That was a warning," said a Zarnian delegate. "Now they'll fall in line." "No," said a quiet voice near the door. It was HFY again. Pale. Still trembling. Torian scowled. "You still here, Seer?" HFY didn't flinch. He simply stepped forward and placed a small crystal on the floor. It pulsed with soft, golden light. That was not a warning. That was a mistake. Torian laughed and waved his hand. "Throw him out." As the guard seized the prophet, he shouted one last time. "They will never stop. You will burn until your stars go dark." 3 hours later, Elias addressed the Terran Senate via secure hologrid. Senators argued, pleaded for caution, insisted on diplomacy. Earth wasn't ready for open war. Elias remained still until they finished. Then he leaned forward and spoke with the quiet authority of a man who'd buried comrades and built legacies on battlefield decisions. They struck a civilian outpost. No warning. No terms. No dignity. But we have no official declaration. They declared it in fire. And they'll do it again unless we teach them what consequences feel like. One senator stood. "And if we respond, they'll unleash the full Dominion fleet." Elias nodded. "Then let them." He ended the call without ceremony. In a vault buried beneath the Andes, machines long thought decommissioned hummed to life. Subterranean pulse cannons, cloaked orbital arrays, AI-led black ops, Earth had planned for this day, even as its diplomats smiled at galactic meetings. Eidolon Protocol was live. One by one, quiet Terran allies across the rim began transmitting single-word confirmations. With you. With you. With you. They were species the Dominion had conquered, taxed, discarded. Now, they saw Earth not as a threat, but as hope wrapped in fury. On the edge of the Milky Spine, aboard the stealth cruiser Vigil's End, Elias watched a simulation of Zereth Prime's orbit. 5 planetary defenses, said Lieutenant Marin. 3 deep scan disruptors. 1 solar shield. Start with their communication array, Elias said. Not a strike. Just silence. Let them feel alone. And after that? He looked out at the stars, his voice cold. We bring the dark. By midnight, the Dominion's outer listening post at Rutha collapsed without a sound. A worm in its comms relays rerouted all outgoing signals into static. No explosion. No trace. Just silence. And in the silence, across council worlds, people began to whisper a new name. Elias Rain. The war room beneath Geneva hadn't been used in over 2 centuries. The walls were etched with ancient battle honors, faded names of commanders no one living could recall. But now, fresh strategy boards flickered across its surface, and Elias Rain stood at its center like a conductor before the opening note. He didn't speak. Not yet. Around him, a select group of commanders, analysts, and off-world contacts stood in quiet anticipation. Finally, he turned. Status on Operation Ember? A woman in dark naval garb stepped forward. Lieutenant Commander Marin. Ember protocols are live across all 6 deep archive sites. Eidolon-class drones are charged. And the Ghost Fleet reports full cloaking and stealth synchronization. They're ready. Elias nodded once. Good. Now let's finish what they started. Above the dark side of Mars, the ISS Black Meridian detached from its orbital anchors and silently drifted into the void, flanked by 20 prototype vessels. Sleek, matte, invisible to most known scans. These weren't warships, they were ghosts. Elias had pushed for them years ago. Back when Earth was a curious observer in galactic affairs. While others sent envoys, Earth had built contingencies. And now, those contingencies stirred. But military power wasn't enough. Not for what was coming. Elias needed disruption, resistance, sabotage, not just destruction. Which meant he needed allies. Forgotten ones. 6 jumps from the edge of known Dominion space, on a half-buried moon called Velterra, Elias stepped out of the drop shuttle and into history. The air was thick with ash and old sorrow. Out of the shadows emerged Serene Kai, leader of the Ilari, a race broken by Dominion conquest generations ago. Her eyes, jet black and unblinking, studied him. Human, she said. Why come now? Elias didn't flinch. Because you know what it feels like to be silenced. Serene's voice was low. And you think revenge will rebuild what we lost? No, Elias said. But justice might make sure it never happens again. She considered his words in silence. Behind her, Ilari warriors began to gather. What do you need? She asked. A message, Elias said. Not to the Dominion. To everyone under its boot. We won't fight this war alone. On Earth, the video broadcast went live across encrypted sub-networks, whispered through backdoors and hijacked comms towers. The screen flickered, and Elias Rain's face appeared, pale and resolute. You saw what they did. A peaceful station. Burned without warning. No apology. No remorse. He paused, letting the silence carry the weight of his next words. They struck first. And now, they face us. Not just humans, but everyone who remembers the sting of chains. He leaned in. We aren't asking for help. We're inviting vengeance. Within days, the tide turned. Not in open battle, but in small ruptures. On Kareth Prime, Dominion cargo lines were rerouted into deep space, entire fleets lost to false coordinates. On Juno 3, an energy reactor overloaded and blacked out 3 city grids. On Tharnis, protesters marched in silence, holding Terran flags. Whispers grew louder. Resistance factions long thought dead were reborn overnight. The Council's grip loosened, not from bombs, but from doubt. Torian paced across the obsidian floor of his personal chamber. His advisors stood silent, afraid to speak first. Reports of outages. Supply line failures. Uprisings. All across the outer systems. This is sabotage, he growled. Coordinated. Surgical. Impossible without external support. An aide cleared his throat. We believe the humans are organizing the resistance. Weaponizing the oppressed. Torian turned slowly, his gaze cold. I warned them. I warned them what humans would become if pushed. They laughed. He opened a private channel. Activate full deployment protocols. I want Earth under siege within the cycle. The system pinged once. A council-wide alert flared. Transmission interruption detected, central relay offline. Silence again. Beneath the lunar core, Elias walked through a corridor only 4 people on Earth knew existed. On either side of him stood upright capsules, each containing a figure suspended in stasis. Not soldiers. Not politicians. Scientists. Strategists. Inventors. Minds who'd vanished publicly, but had been protected, preserved. He reached Capsule 06. Tapped a code. The glass slid open. A woman slowly blinked awake, eyes unfocused. Rain, she whispered. Is it time? He nodded. It's begun, Dr. Trask. She sat up slowly. Protocol Ember? An Eidolon. She exhaled, equal parts relief and dread. Then God help them. Back on Zereth Prime, a lone signal cracked through Council defenses, a low-frequency message, untraceable. Torian listened as a voice played in the dark. You thought you struck fear. But all you did was wake us up. We will burn the stars you ruled. And we will not stop until your name is erased. Aboard the Vigil's end, now deep in stealth orbit over a Dominion listening post, Marin stood beside Elias. We could strike now, she said. No, he replied. Not yet. She frowned. You want them to suffer? I want them to understand. She looked away. You think they ever will? Elias stared into the endless black. They don't have to. As long as they remember why it happened. At 0400 Standard, Earth's Ghost Fleet took its first active target, Dominion Relay Station 14 Beta. One moment, it was transmitting to 40 systems. The next, nothing. No debris. No light. Just a dead pocket in space. A message was left behind, floating silently in its place. This was restraint. Next time, it won't be. Zereth Prime hadn't seen clouds in 1,000 years. Its engineered skies were always clear, an artificial dome controlling every aspect of weather, light, and visibility. It was a symbol of the Dominion's control. But now, the clouds were real. Ash-gray vapor swirled overhead, cast by orbital debris burning up in atmosphere. The people of the capital stared upward, not with awe, but with growing fear. Silence blanketed the city. No shuttles moved. No broadcasts played. For the first time in memory, Zereth Prime had nothing to say. High Lord Karvek Torian stood before the Dominion war table, eyes bloodshot, robes scorched at the cuffs. The palace beneath him trembled faintly, aftershocks from the destruction of Sector Hub 9 just hours earlier. Status on the Citadel array, he barked. A technician stammered. Still offline. Our subspace amplifiers were spliced. They're transmitting back to us. Everything we send loops into our own systems. Then shut them down. We did. They keep rebooting. It's as if someone rebuilt our command grid. From inside, Torian slammed a fist into the table. Get me the fleet commander. Now. The line clicked. A voice crackled in response. Not Dominion. Not friendly. He won't be joining you, Karvek. He's watching the skies burn. Same as you. Torian froze. That voice, Elias Rain. You should have listened to your prophet. The line went dead. Above the city, the clouds parted for a brief second, not from wind, but from motion. A vast triangular shape emerged, silent, gleaming black. The Eidolon dreadnought descended without noise, cloaked until the final second. It didn't fire. It just hovered, a statement more powerful than any weapon. Marin's voice came through Elias's console. We're in position. Final orders? Elias stood at the helm of the Vigil's end, watching Ziritha's capital shrink in the viewport. Execute secondary lockout. Disable their planetary AI. Keep their defenses asleep. And the message? He nodded. Play it. Across the Dominion's core systems, screens flickered. On stations, warships, temples, and trade hubs, every device connected to the Council lit up. Elias Rain's face appeared. Calm. Controlled. The galaxy's most dangerous human didn't raise his voice. He didn't gloat. He simply spoke. You struck first. You silenced our people. You destroyed our peace. And now, you'll learn what it means to awaken a force that never yields. He leaned slightly closer to the camera. We are not the monsters your history books warned you of. We are the silence that follows the storm. And we don't stop. The screen went black. Torian watched the feed cut, trembling with a rage he could no longer control. They won't take this world, he spat. They can burn our moons. But this city, will not fall. A general to his left murmured, It already has, my lord. The silence in the chamber became unbearable. Torian stepped away, activating the emergency override beacon. A deep rumble shook the room. From beneath the city, the last bastion, the Dominion's most fortified citadel, began to rise. A mountain of metal and shield arrays forged for only one purpose, final defense. He turned to his guard. Seal it. No one enters. No one leaves. Hours later, the skies above Zerith Prime ignited. Eidolon-class drones dropped kinetic silence bombs, non-lethal, but designed to collapse communication, sensor grids, and light itself. The capital vanished under a sphere of quiet darkness. No explosions. No fire. Just stillness. Citizens hid behind marble doors. Soldiers fired blindly into the void. But the enemy was already inside. At the foot of the last bastion, Elias stepped through the breach. He wore no helmet, no armor, just a matte black tactical suit. Behind him, Ilari allies and Terran operatives swept through corridors, disabling systems with surgical precision. Every inch of the citadel had been mapped. There were no surprises. Torian's throne room, however, remained untouched. Until now. The doors blew open with a hiss. Torian rose from his seat, sword in hand, defiant to the end. You are vermin, he growled. You think because you've silenced our skies, you've won? Elias entered alone, unarmed. We didn't silence them, he said. You just finally heard what we've been screaming for centuries. Torian stepped forward, blade raised. I should have crushed Earth when I had the chance. You did. Torian hesitated. Elias's voice dropped. And that's why we're here. The sword swung, but before it could reach, a neural feedback pulse lit up the chamber. Torian dropped to his knees, groaning, unable to move. Elias crouched beside him. I don't need to kill you, he whispered. I just need the galaxy to watch you fall. Within minutes, every system in the Council's network displayed a single feed. Torian, bound and disarmed. Elias Rain standing beside him. A silent room, and a single sentence on screen. This is not conquest. This is consequence. The Dominion fell not with a bang, but with surrender. One by one, systems cut ties. Worlds declared independence. Fleets disbanded. The Council's authority shattered like glass. And humanity? Humanity did not install a new empire. They didn't claim thrones. They simply left. Left a warning. Left a memory. Left a silence. In the ruins of Zereth Prime, HFY stood atop the Prophet's spire. The sky was no longer controlled, real clouds drifted freely now. An acolyte beside him whispered, "Your vision came true." HFY shook his head. No. It was never a vision. He looked to the horizon, where the last human ship faded into the stars. It was a memory of what they become, when provoked. The stars above Earth hadn't looked this calm in decades. No warnings flared. No red alerts blinked. Just the slow arc of distant moons, glimmering peacefully. A galaxy no longer watching with suspicion. No fleets hovered. No threats lingered. And yet, Elias Rain didn't feel peace. He stood alone in the high observatory of the Arclight station, watching the Earth rotate beneath him, whole, breathing, untouched. But inside him, something smoldered. Not regret. Not triumph. Just a weight that refused to lift. Behind him, the door hissed open. Marin stepped through, a small datapad tucked under her arm. "It's done," she said quietly. He didn't turn. Define done. The Dominion Council has officially dissolved. Their final systems have been decommissioned. No fleet, no leadership, no capital. Zereth Prime is being administered by a neutral coalition. No retaliation. Elias nodded slowly. No retaliation. For now. They won't risk another war, Marin added. Not after this. He finally turned to her, his eyes tired but steady. That's what they said last time. Right before Sirix 7. She held his gaze for a moment. There is a difference now. This time, they remember. In the refugee sectors of Helios Reach, a former Dominion colony, children were painting flags. Not of Earth, or any empire, but of resistance. Stylized images of the Terran Phoenix with open wings. To them, Elias wasn't a warlord. He was the one who answered. The boy who lost his parents on Tharnis. The girl who saw her village erased by orbital mining drills. The survivors of worlds whose names the Council had struck from maps. Now, they spoke again. They were remembered. Because humans made the galaxy remember. At the United Systems Accord Summit, 47 species gathered, some enemies once, others unknown until the war revealed their chains. For the first time, they didn't come to beg for autonomy. They came with demands, drafted together by a Terran-led council of strategists. And Elias? He wasn't present. He'd refused the seat offered to him. Power wasn't what he'd fought for. He sent a message instead. We were never asking for inclusion. We were reminding you we were already here. We don't want your crowns, your gold, your laws. Keep them. What we want, what we demand, is that no voice goes unheard again. And if silence comes, we'll answer it. Every time. On the ruined plains of Zereth Prime, the silence now had life. Markets reopened. Broken structures gave way to gardens. And near the former palace ruins, a single statue stood, not of Elias, but of HFY, the prophet. His hands were outstretched, mouth open, not in warning, but in proclamation. A plaque read. You should have listened. The children who played near it didn't know the full story. But they knew its lesson. In a quiet villa hidden in the Pacific Ranges, Elias sat across from his brother, Noah Rain, the pacifist. They hadn't seen each other in years. Not since Elias triggered Protocol Ember. A kettle whistled. Noah poured tea, hands steady, movements slow. You left the summit chair empty, he said, not asking. I'm not a ruler. Noah raised an eyebrow. You are exactly what rulers pretend to be. Elias smirked, just a little. And that's the problem. Noah placed the cup before him. So what now? Elias looked out at the trees beyond the window. We teach them what not to forget. Across the galaxy, new voices rose. Ilari's schools reopened, teaching their true history, not what the Dominion dictated. The Cornites launched a planetary broadcast, singing ancient songs once banned. Even the Silent Fray, a species whose speech had been outlawed for its disruption frequency, were now center stage at cultural events, their vibrations echoing across public chambers. And somewhere, always, the human flag fluttered, not claiming ownership, but presence. The reminder. The warning. The promise. Back in the Arclight station, Marin closed a secure file marked, Restraint. It held the blueprints for every Eidolon weapon Earth had not deployed. Technologies that could rip moons apart, hack thought signals, shatter planetary cores. They were never used. Only displayed. She locked the file and keyed in a phrase. Let them remember what we chose not to do. On Earth, schoolchildren read the final lines of the war memoir, written by Elias himself, though published anonymously. We became what they feared, not because we were monsters, but because we were never given the chance to be anything else. Now, the chance is yours. Don't waste it. In the very heart of the galaxy, where the Dominion once ruled, a new monument stood. No names. No titles. Just a single line, etched into alloy and stone. If you strike first, they'll never stop.